At my sister's wedding, my mother grabbed the mic and yelled, "I should be the one getting all this attention, not some spoiled brat in a white dress." Everyone froze as she shoved the cake onto the floor and screamed, "You all owe me for raising her." When my sister started crying, Mom stormed out, shouting, "I'm cutting you off if you don't apologize." But the next morning, she was begging for a slice of the wedding gifts. I swear the whole ballroom in Wilmington went silent the second my mom's voice cracked through the mic. 1 second, we were all watching my sister, Emily, sway with her new husband during their first dance. The next, my mom was stomping across the floor like she owned the place, snatching the mic out of the DJ's hand hard enough that the speakers screeched. "I should be the one getting all this attention," she yelled, her voice sharp and shaking. "Not some spoiled brat in a white dress." Emily froze. Her smile collapsed so fast it actually hurt to watch. People gasped, half laughing because they thought it was a joke, until Mom kept going. "You all owe me for raising her, every single one of you." Then she shoved the 3-tier cake right off the table, just slammed her palm against the stand and pushed until the whole thing slid, wobbled, and crashed onto the floor. The sound was like a gunshot. Frosting splattered across the tiles. My aunt covered her mouth. The DJ just stared. Emily started crying, and not the cute, wedding day emotional kind. These were the kind of tears you cry when something in you finally snaps. Her husband pulled her clothes, but she shook him off and just stared at Mom like she didn't even know her. Mom pointed at her. "You're ungrateful. And if you don't apologize for humiliating me today, I'm cutting you off." Then she stormed out, heels clacking like she wanted each step to wound someone. The door slammed behind her. Everyone just stood there. I remember the smell of smashed vanilla cake mixing with the sour panic in the air. I remember my sister sinking into a chair, whispering, "Why would she do this? Why today?" And all I could do was put my hand on her shoulder and pretend I wasn't shaking too. The rest of the night was triage. Guests tried to comfort Emily. My uncle tried to convince the hotel to bring out some backup sheet cake. The photographer whispered to me, "Do you want me to stop taking pictures?" Like even he wasn't sure what counted as too real. But the real punch came the next morning. While Emily and her husband were opening cards and sorting gifts in the hotel suite, Mom showed up at the door like nothing had happened. She didn't even knock softly, just barged in with this fake, sugary smile plastered on her face. "There are a few gifts I think I should get a portion of," she said. "I mean, after everything I've done for you." Emily froze, still puffy-eyed from crying all night. "Mom, you ruined my wedding." Mom waved her hand like that was nothing. "Stop being dramatic. Now where are the envelopes? I just want my fair share." Fair share, that's what she called it, like a cut, like she was some investor collecting returns. I opened my mouth to tell her to get out, but something stopped me. Something in her face, something calculating. And it hit me, she wasn't done. Last night wasn't the meltdown, it was the opening act. And as she stepped closer to the table of gifts, I realized something was off. Something about what she was really after. Something I hadn't even noticed was missing yet. Something she'd already taken. I felt my stomach drop. Because this wasn't just about money. It was about the one thing Emily trusted Mom with, the thing Mom had insisted on handling herself. And suddenly, the whole disaster made sense in a way that scared me. I turned to Emily and said, "Where's the envelope with?" But I stopped, because Mom was staring right at me. Smiling, like she knew exactly what I was about to say. Before all this, before the screaming and the smashed cake and the hotel room standoff, my mom used to brag about how close she was with her daughters. She said it to anyone who'd listen. Neighbors, coworkers, random cashiers who made the mistake of asking how her day was. She made it sound like we were this perfect trio. Her, the selfless single mother, and her 2 loyal daughters who adored her. But that was the version she performed. The Pinterest version. The church potluck version. The real version was quieter, sharper, more confusing. Growing up in Wilmington, I learned early that Mom only felt loved when she was the center of everything. If Emily got good grades, Mom turned it into a speech about how she pushed her. If I got picked for honor choir, Mom told people she fought the school tooth and nail to make sure I got a fair chance, which wasn't even true. Every achievement we had, she rebranded it into something she sacrificed for. And if we didn't praise her enough afterward, the guilt trip started. Emily, being the oldest, took the brunt of it. Mom leaned on her for years, emotionally, financially, even socially. When Emily got her first paycheck at 16, Mom cried and said she needed just a little help with the electric bill. When Emily started dating her now husband Mark, Mom acted like he was stealing her property. But the weird part? There were good days. Days when Mom made pancakes and played old Taylor Swift CDs in the kitchen, dancing around like nothing was wrong. Days when she hugged us so tight it felt like warmth instead of control. Emily clung to those days. I did too, if I'm honest. That's why when Emily got engaged, she still wanted Mom involved. Maybe not as much as Mom wanted, but involved. Mom latched onto the role like it was oxygen. She insisted on being part of every decision: dress fittings, venue visits, cake tastings, guest list edits. She inserted herself into everything, even the stuff nobody asked for. Sometimes Emily pushed back. Sometimes she caved just to keep the peace. And then Mom volunteered for one special task that she made sound like an honor. "The cards," she said proudly. "Let me handle the cards. The RSVPs, the gift envelopes at the wedding, I'll keep everything organized so you don't have to worry." Emily hesitated, but Mom looked so hopeful, so emotional, that Emily finally agreed. "I'll trust you with it," she said. Mom cried, like full-on tears. Hugged Emily so hard she almost knocked her backward. "How could you not trust me?" she sobbed. In hindsight, that line hits like a brick. The months leading up to the wedding were tense. Little fights sparked over everything: centerpieces, place cards, when Mom could post pictures online. But nothing compared to the night before the rehearsal dinner, when Emily asked Mom gently to stop calling herself co-bride. That word "just" slipped out during a phone call, and Emily, exhausted and overwhelmed, finally said, "Mom, you're not the bride. This isn't about you." Mom hung up. No goodbye, no answer to texts. We didn't hear from her for 2 days. And then she showed up at the wedding looking like she'd been waiting to explode. I didn't think she'd actually blow up the whole day. I didn't think she had it in her. But as she stood in that hotel room the next morning, smiling like she'd won something, I finally understood. She'd planned more than a tantrum. She'd planned a move. Something she'd already set in motion while pretending to help. Something Emily trusted her with. Something that was suddenly missing. And I felt this cold, heavy dread settle in my chest because I knew Mom wasn't done taking. Not by a long shot. The moment Mom walked into that hotel's suite acting like she had every right to be there, something inside me locked into place. Not anger yet, just clarity. The kind that makes everything feel too sharp, too focused. Emily sat stiff on the couch, still in her pajama shorts and wedding hangover sweatshirt, staring at Mom like she was a stranger who'd broken in. Mark stood behind her, arms crossed, jaw so tight the vein in his neck was pulsing. Mom kept pretending everything was normal. "I just think it's fair," she said, picking up a wrapped box like she was shopping at Target. "People gave generously because of me, after all. You wouldn't have had half these guests without my side of the family." Her voice sounded syrupy, but her eyes were scanning the table like she was hunting for something specific. That's when it hit me harder: the envelope. The one Emily had mentioned 2 weeks earlier, the one from her late grandmother's lawyer. A small beige envelope with important documents and a check inside. But it wasn't just money. It was something else, something personal, something Mom had been weirdly curious about, and now it wasn't on the table. It wasn't anywhere. Before I could ask, Mom shot me this tiny smirk. The kind that said, "Don't start." Emily finally spoke, voice raw. "Mom, what you did last night, why? You humiliated me. You ruined everything." Mom sighed loudly, the exaggerated kind she used when she thought everyone else was being ridiculous. "You're so dramatic, Emily. I gave you life. I gave you everything, and you couldn't even let me have one moment." "One moment?" Mark snapped. "You flipped a cake onto the floor." Mom shrugged. "It was ugly anyway." That's when Emily covered her face with both hands and quietly sobbed into her palms. Not loud, not dramatic, just defeated. The kind of crying that guts everyone else in the room, but Mom didn't flinch. She didn't move, she didn't comfort her. She just kept eyeing the gifts like a vulture waiting for something to die. Mark stepped toward her. "You need to leave." Mom didn't even look at him. "I'm family. I'm not going anywhere until I get what's owed." And then she said something so small, so casual, that it chilled me. Besides, I already took care of the important part. Emily's head snapped up. What does that mean? Mom didn't answer. She just kept digging through envelopes like she owned them. I felt something burning in my throat. Fear, anger, confusion, all tangled together. Because Mom wasn't usually subtle. She wasn't strategic. But right now, she looked like someone who'd already pulled off a plan and was just waiting for everyone else to catch up. That's when the knock came on the door. A sharp, quick triple tap. Mark opened it, expecting room service. Instead, it was the hotel manager holding a clipboard and wearing that polite but tense expression people use right before dropping bad news. "Hi," he said, clearing his throat. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but we need to discuss an issue with your reception bill." Emily blinked. "What issue?" The manager hesitated. "A charge reversal was filed early this morning. Someone canceled the payment for the venue and catering. We need to confirm who authorized it." My stomach dropped. Mom straightened her back. Emily whispered, What are you talking about?" The manager looked uncomfortable. "According to our system, the cancellation was submitted using the contact information and access code provided by your mother." Silence. Mom didn't deny it, she just smiled, like she'd finally been given credit for something. Emily's lips trembled. "Mom, why would you?" Mom cut her off. "If I'm not appreciated, then none of you get the day you stole from me." I felt my pulse pounding in my ears. Because this wasn't just a meltdown anymore. This was sabotage, and I still hadn't told Emily what else was missing. What Mom had slipped away with. The thing she'd been quietly plotting around for months. The thing she now pretended not to have. And it wasn't money. It was the secret our grandmother left only for Emily. I didn't want to say it in front of the hotel manager, but Emily turned to me with this look. Wide-eyed, shaking, terrified in a way I hadn't seen since we were kids. And I knew I couldn't stall anymore. I said quietly. "The envelope, the one from Grandma's lawyer, it's not here." For a second, she just stared at me, not understanding. Then I watched the realization wash over her, slow, then fast, then all at once. She shot up from the couch. "Mom, where is it?" Mom didn't answer, didn't blink. She just smoothed her blouse like she was preparing for a photo op. Emily's voice broke. "Where's the letter?" Mark turned to her. "Letter? What letter?" Emily swallowed hard. "My grandmother left something for me before she died." It wasn't money, it was personal, a letter. She said it explained something she never got to tell me. Mom rolled her eyes. "Oh please, that woman left crumbs for everyone. She always had favorites. She made everything complicated." I stepped toward her. "Mom, did you take it?" She finally looked up at me, and the smile she gave wasn't confused or innocent, it was smug. Emily's breathing got fast. "Mom, give it to me." Mom shrugged. "Maybe I have it, maybe I don't. All I know is your grandmother was manipulating you with that letter, and I'm not letting her poison this family from the grave." Emily's knees buckled, and she held onto the back of the chair. "Poison." "It was from her. She wanted me to have it. She asked you to deliver it." "I protected you," Mom said flatly. That was it. Protected, like she was the hero in this. The hotel manager awkwardly excused himself, sensing the level of dysfunction was above his pay grade. The door clicked shut, leaving the four of us in this thick, suffocating silence. Emily wiped her eyes, voice shaking. "Mom, what did the letter say?" Mom paused for a long time, too long, and that's when I realized. She knew. She had read it. Even though it was addressed to Emily. Mom crossed her arms. "It said plenty, more than you needed to know, things that would ruin everything, things that would tear this family apart." I wasn't going to let that happen. Emily took a step toward her, trembling. "What things?" Mom's smile tightened. "You don't need the details." Every word was a knife. Emily whispered, "You had no right." "I had every right," Mom snapped back. "I'm your mother." She said it like that made her God. Mark clenched his fists. "Where is the letter now?" Mom hesitated for a split second, just one, and that tiny twitch told me everything. She didn't have it anymore. She'd gotten rid of it. On purpose, Emily let out this choked sob that tore through the room. "It was the last thing she ever wrote to me," Mom stayed stone-faced. "She was confused. She was old. She didn't know what she was talking about." "She knew exactly what she was doing," I said. Mom whipped her head toward me. And I knew exactly what I was doing. Emily crumbled into Mark's arms. And then, because apparently we hadn't hit bottom yet, Mom added, "Fine, if you really want the truth, the letter wasn't the only thing she left you." Silence. "What?" Emily whispered. Mom lifted her chin. "There was something else, something bigger. Something that should never have been yours, something I fixed." Emily stared at her like she was staring at a monster. "What did you do?" she cried. Mom's smile widened, cold and satisfied. "That letter was only half the story." I felt a chill crawl up my spine, because if Mom had hidden the letter, what else had she covered up, and why was she so damn pleased with herself? After Mom dropped that last bombshell, she walked out of the hotel suite like she'd just delivered a sermon and expected applause. The door shut behind her with this soft click that somehow felt louder than the cake hitting the floor the night before. Emily collapsed onto the edge of the bed, shaking so hard the mattress trembled. Mark sat beside her, rubbing her back, whispering that it was okay, that they'd figure it out. But it was okay, and we all knew it. I stood there staring at the closed door, feeling something shift inside me. Not fear this time, not shock. This was anger, the clean, cold kind. The kind that didn't burn, the kind that carved. Emily finally whispered, "She knew Grandma left me something else. She knew, and she took it." Mark nodded. "We'll call the lawyer Monday morning." "No," I said. "We're calling him now." Emily looked up, eyes red and swollen. "It's Sunday. I don't care." I grabbed my phone, found the lawyer's after-hours line, and left a message so packed with urgency I sounded like I was reporting a kidnapping. Maybe in a way I was. Then I turned back toward Emily. "We're not letting her control this narrative, not anymore." Emily stared at her hands. I don't understand why she'd do this. Why sabotage my wedding? Why hide the letter? Why? Because she wants to stay in control," I said. "Even if she has to burn everything down to do it." Mark's jaw tightened. "So what do we do?" I sat beside Emily and took her hand. "We make a plan, not a screaming match, not a guilt trip war. A plan that hits her where she never expects it." Emily let out a weak laugh. "She expects everything." "No," I said quietly. "She expects us to fall apart. She expects you to apologize. She expects to stay the victim." I looked at both of them. "So we make her the villain, publicly, legally, financially." "Whatever it takes." Mark nodded slowly. "I'm listening." First, we laid out everything we knew. Mom handled all the RSVPs and gift envelopes, meaning she had access to guest information, including the venue's payment portal. She canceled the reception payment at 6:12 a.m., according to the hotel manager's notes. She had the letter and whatever else Grandma left Emily. She was acting way too confident, like she knew we couldn't touch her. Emily wiped her face. "She's done stuff like this before, but never this big." I nodded. "We start by protecting ourselves, then we expose her." The outline formed quickly. Step 1, freeze all accounts Mom had access to. Every shared password, every mutual membership, everything she could weaponize. Step 2, call Grandma's lawyer first thing in the morning and demand copies of every document related to the estate. Step 3, gather witness statements from the wedding, videos, photos, testimonies, anything showing her meltdown and the cake incident. Step 4, contact the venue and get written confirmation that Mom canceled the payment. Step 5, figure out what Mom meant by something bigger. At every step, Emily kept whispering, "I can't believe she did this." But each time she said it, her voice got steadier. By the time we finished outlining everything, she wasn't crying anymore. She was angry, and beneath that anger was something I hadn't seen in her before, not even during the worst fights with Mom growing up. Determination. Mark squeezed her shoulder. "We're going to get the letter. And whatever else she stole," Emily nodded. "I want the truth, all of it." I looked at both of them. "We're going to make her face exactly what she's done. No more hiding, no more guilt. No more manipulation." But there was still one thing I hadn't told them. One detail that had been sitting in the back of my mind, icy and heavy. Something Grandma had told me in private months before she died. Something about why she wrote the letter in the first place. Something Mom would never want Emily to know. I looked at Emily and almost said it. Almost. But before I could, my phone buzzed. The lawyer had called back. and the first words out of his mouth made my blood run cold. She wasn't supposed to get that letter, and if your mother intercepted it, then the situation is far more serious than you realize. The lawyer's voice cracked through the phone like a warning siren. I put him on speaker. Emily sat up straight. Mark moved closer. The room felt too small, like the air was thinning with every second. The lawyer cleared his throat. If your mother intercepted that letter, then she knows the contents. And if she knows the contents, he paused, choosing his words. Then she knows about the clause. Emily whispered, "Clause? What clause?" He exhaled slowly. "The amendment your grandmother added to her will 6 months before she passed. The one she insisted I keep confidential until the wedding." I felt my stomach twist. "Confidential, why?" "She said your mother couldn't be trusted." His voice sharpened. "She said she feared your mother would react badly or sabotage it." Emily's breath caught. "Sabotage what?" There was a long pause. Then the lawyer said, "Your grandmother left you her house." The room went dead silent. Not just any house, her house. The one Mom had been bragging about inheriting for years. The one she considered her birthright. The one she called her future. Emily shook her head slowly. That can't be right. She told Mom." "She told your mother nothing," the lawyer cut in. "She left the property solely to you, Emily, not to be shared, not to be contested. Not even to be disclosed early. She wanted you to have it after your wedding as a fresh start." Emily leaned back like she'd been punched. "Why me?" the lawyer hesitated. "Because of what the letter explained. The truth about your father." The air froze. Even Mark stopped breathing. Emily's voice cracked. "My father, what about him?" The lawyer lowered his voice. "Your grandmother wanted you to know the real story. Not the one your mother told you." I felt my pulse hammering, because I knew something Emily didn't, something Grandma had hinted at, a secret Mom had spent years burying. Emily's hands shook. "What did the letter say?" The lawyer didn't answer immediately. "I can't quote it, but I can tell you what the will's amendment referenced." He exhaled sharply. "Your grandmother stated that if your mother discovered the truth before you did, she might take extreme action to prevent the disclosure. She believed your mother would react violently to losing control of the narrative." Emily covered her mouth, eyes wide. She knew Mom would do something like this," the lawyer said quietly. "She predicted it." Mark whispered, "Okay, so Mom sabotaged the wedding because she found out about the inheritance." "No," the lawyer said. And the way he said it made my skin crawl. "That was only part of it." Emily wiped her face. "Then what else?" the lawyer sighed. "Your grandmother left behind documentation, old court records, letters, photographs, proof of something your mother swore never to acknowledge." Emily stared at the phone, terrified. "Proof of what?" The lawyer paused for a long, heavy moment. Then he said, "Proof that the man you know as your father is." Emily made a small, broken sound. Mark put his arms around her, but she wasn't even crying, she was shaking. Violently, the lawyer continued. "Your real father attempted to contact your grandmother several times years ago, but your mother blocked every attempt. She told him you didn't want to know him. She lied." "Repeatedly," Emily whispered. She kept him from me." "Yes," the lawyer said. "And your grandmother wanted you to know the truth. That's why she wrote the letter. That's why she left you the house. It contains everything, documents, journals, even recordings. She wanted you to decide for yourself." I closed my eyes, because suddenly everything made sense. Why Mom melted down. Why she attacked the wedding. Why she stole the letter. Why she looked so smug when she walked out. She wasn't just trying to ruin Emily's day. She was trying to bury the truth. A truth she'd spent decades hiding. The lawyer cleared his throat. "I'll email copies of the will and the amendment shortly, but you need to understand something." His voice dropped, deadly serious. "If your mother has that letter, she knows her entire lie is at risk." And then he said the part that made every hair on my arms stand up. "Your mother didn't sabotage a wedding." He paused. "She sabotaged evidence." I didn't think it was possible for a room to feel colder without the temperature changing, but when that call ended, it was like all the warmth got sucked straight out of the air. Emily sat there frozen, staring at nothing. Mark kept looking between us like he couldn't decide whether to hug her or go track my mother down himself. I just felt numb. Numb in that way where you're aware of every heartbeat and every breath because everything else inside you has gone quiet. Then Emily whispered, "Why would she do this? Why would she hide my father? Why would she keep all of this from me?" And that was the moment I finally understood the one thing Grandma had tried to warn me about, the thing I'd been too scared to say out loud. Because this wasn't about inheritance. It wasn't about attention. It wasn't even about jealousy. It was about control, the ugliest kind. I took a slow breath. I need to tell you something." Emily looked at me with eyes that barely seemed alive. "What?" "Grandma talked to me before she died," I said. "Privately, she said Mom wasn't afraid of losing the house, or the money, or even the story about your father getting out." I swallowed hard. "She said Mom's real fear was losing her power over you." Emily didn't respond, not right away, but tears started rolling silently down her cheeks. I continued, voice low. "She said Mom built her entire identity around being the victim, the single mother who held everything together, the one who sacrificed, the one who did it all alone. She used that narrative to control you, to make you feel like you owed her, like your life was something she'd loaned you." Mark's jaw clenched. "So she lied about her father to keep her dependent?" "Exactly," I said. "If Emily found out the truth, that her real father cared, that he tried to reach out, Mom's whole story collapses. She wouldn't be the hero anymore, she'd be the villain." Emily covered her mouth, sobbing quietly. "She stole my relationship with him." "And she knew," I said. "Grandma said she knew that someday if the truth came out, you'd finally see her for who she is. Not a martyr, not a protector." "A manipulator," Mark whispered. "She sabotaged the wedding because she panicked." "Not just panicked," I said. "She retaliated." Emily blinked at me through tears. "Against me?" "Against the person who threatened her sense of control." I nodded. "Grandma said your mother doesn't love people, she owns them, and she can't handle the idea of losing what she thinks she owns." Emily shook her head slowly. "She ruined my wedding, so what? I'd come crawling back to her. So I'd need her again?" "That's exactly why," I said. "Because if she could destroy the one day that wasn't about her, then she could rewrite it. Turn it into another story where she was the victim and you were the ungrateful child." The truth settled over the room like a heavy fog. Mark sat beside Emily and held her while she cried into his chest. Not loud, not messy, just heartbreak in its purest form. I kept talking because I needed her to hear it, needed her to understand it wasn't her fault. "She didn't take the letter because she was scared of what it said," I said softly. "She took it because it took something from her, your independence, your clarity, your truth. She couldn't handle the idea of you seeing her without the mask she's been wearing your entire life." Emily wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "So she destroyed the evidence. And then," I said, "she tried to destroy your wedding to distract you from looking for it." Emily sat up straight, voice trembling but clear. "She took my father from me. She took my grandmother's last words. She tried to take my marriage. She tried to take everything." I nodded. "And she still thinks she's going to get away with it." Emily looked at the door, the one Mom had walked out of that morning, and something changed in her face. Something hard, something cold, something I had never seen in her before. "No," Emily whispered, "she won't." And that's when the plan stopped being about protecting ourselves. It became about revenge, real revenge. The kind Mom would never see coming. The shift in Emily was instant and absolute. Something in her finally snapped back into place, but differently this time. Stronger, sharper, grounded in the kind of clarity you only get after watching someone burn down the last good thing you gave them. By noon, we were done crying. By 2 p.m., we were making calls. By sunset, the revenge plan was already in motion. First, we met with the hotel manager again. He printed out documentation of the canceled payment, complete with timestamps, and the IP address it came from. Emily handed the folder to Mark, who slipped it into a new envelope, our envelope. One Mom couldn't touch. Next, we drove straight to Grandma's lawyer's office. He met us even though it was Sunday. He handed Emily the full estate packet, the amended will, the addendum, the letter Grandma had written before the final version, and the list of items stored in the house. When he realized the letter had been stolen, his face darkened. "That," he said, "is theft of estate property." Emily nodded. "I plan to press charges." and she wasn't shaking this time. Then came the hardest part, going to Grandma's house. The house Mom expected to inherit. The house she bragged about. The house she planned to remodel once it was finally hers. We entered with the lawyer's key, and the second we stepped inside, the air felt different, like Grandma's presence was still there, steady and watchful. Emily found the lockbox within minutes. Black metal. Combination code Grandma once whispered in my ear because she trusted the quiet one. Inside were old court documents, handwritten notes, dated envelopes, photos of a man who looked so much like Emily it was impossible to deny. Proof sitting right there, untouched by Mom's hands. And in the corner of the box sat a small USB drive labeled in Grandma's handwriting. For Emily, in case your mother destroys the letter. Emily held it like it was something sacred. She knew, she whispered. She knew Mom would try to erase everything. And that's when Emily's revenge plan fully formed. Not angry, not loud, not dramatic, strategic. She didn't want to scream at Mom. She didn't want to confront her in person. She didn't want to give her the spotlight she was starving for. She wanted the one thing my mother could never survive: exposure. We spent the next 2 days gathering everything. Screenshots of Mom's texts bragging about handling the cards. Photos and videos from guests showing her meltdown. The venue's documentation of the sabotage. The will and amendment leaving the house solely to Emily. The evidence from the lockbox proving Mom blocked Emily's father for decades. A written statement from the lawyer confirming the stolen letter. On Wednesday afternoon, Emily sent everything, to the entire family, to Mom's church group, to her friends, her coworkers, and every person who'd ever heard my mother play the selfless single mom card. The subject line was simple: the truth my mother hid from me. Attached was a detailed timeline, every piece of proof, and a calm, brutally honest explanation of everything Mom had done, at the wedding, before it, and for decades. It wasn't cruel, it wasn't exaggerated, it was factual, and it destroyed her. The messages started rolling in immediately: shock, disgust, disappointment, people asking how she could do something so vicious, so calculated, so selfish. Mom called over 30 times. Emily didn't answer once. Instead, she forwarded Mom's calls directly to voicemail and sent her a final text. "Do not contact me again. All future communication will go through my lawyer." That was it. No yelling, no crying, no second chances. Just a clean, surgical cut, the one Mom never expected her obedient daughter to make. That night, Emily sat on the porch of her grandmother's house, watching the quiet Wilmington street with a calm I hadn't seen in years. She took a deep breath and said, "She took enough from me, I'm done letting her." I sat beside her, feeling the weight finally lift. "Think she'll try anything else?" I asked. Emily smirked, tired but solid. "Let her try," she said. "For the first time in my life, I'm not scared of her." She leaned back in her chair and added, "And I didn't just get married this week, I got free."